Michael Reeves hadn't been home to the ranch in 3 years. Building a tech empire in Silicon Valley had consumed every waking hour, turning the once ranch-loving boy into a man who lived in boardrooms and spoke in stock options. At 38, he was worth more than $200 million, had been featured on magazine covers, and owned properties in 5 different cities. But he didn't own peace of mind, and he certainly didn't own the one thing that mattered most, the approval of his aging parents. The call had come at 2 in the morning. His sister Jennifer's voice had been tight with worry. Their father had fallen, broken his hip. Their mother was exhausted from trying to manage the ranch alone. They needed help, and more than that, they needed their son to come home. Michael had booked the first flight to Montana, guilt sitting heavy in his chest as he realized he couldn't remember the last time he had called them, not just texted on holidays, but actually called. The December morning was brutally cold when his rental SUV pulled up the familiar dirt road to the Reeves family ranch. The place looked smaller than he remembered, more worn. The white fence needed painting, the barn roof had missing shingles, and the fields that should have been prepared for winter seemed neglected. Michael's jaw tightened. He sent them money every month. Why hadn't they hired help? The house at least looked well-maintained. Smoke curled from the chimney, and Christmas decorations hung in the windows, his mother's touch evident in every carefully placed wreath. Michael grabbed his bag and headed for the door, but before he could knock, it swung open. Michael! His mother stood there, older than he remembered, her hair more silver than brown now, but her eyes still sharp and knowing. She pulled him into a hug that he returned awkwardly, unused to physical affection after years of business handshakes. "How's Dad?" he asked, stepping inside. "Resting. The doctor says 6 weeks before he's mobile again." Margaret Reeves studied her son with an expression he couldn't quite read. "Come in. There's someone I want you to meet." Michael followed his mother through the familiar rooms, now noticing how clean everything was, how the Christmas decorations were more elaborate than his mother usually managed. In the kitchen, the source of the delicious smell that had hit him at the door, stood a woman he had never seen before. She was maybe 30, with light brown hair pulled back in a practical braid, wearing jeans and a simple sweater covered by an apron. She was pulling a pie from the oven, and when she turned at their entrance, Michael found himself looking into the warmest brown eyes he had ever seen. There was kindness there, but also strength, and something else, a sadness that seemed bone deep. "Michael, this is Emma Sullivan." "Emma, my son Michael." Emma set down the pie and wiped her hands on her apron before extending one to him. "Mr. Reeves, your mother has told me so much about you." Her handshake was firm, her palms slightly calloused. Working hands. Michael found himself holding on a moment longer than necessary before releasing her. "Just Michael. And my mother hasn't told me anything about you." "Emma's been helping us for the past 4 months, his mother explained, moving to put on coffee. "After your father's first scare in August, the one you couldn't come home for because of that merger, we put up a notice at the church looking for help." Emma answered it. The gentle reproach in his mother's voice stung, but Michael kept his expression neutral. "I see. And you're a nurse?" "No." Emma returned to her pie, cutting it into neat slices. "I'm just someone who knows how to help. I cook, clean, help your father with his physical therapy exercises, manage the household accounts, and handle the ranch administration your mother doesn't have time for. Your sister pays me a modest salary, and I have a small cottage on the property where I live with my daughter." "Daughter?" Michael accepted the coffee his mother handed him. "Lily. She's 6. Emma's face transformed when she spoke of her child, the sadness lifting for a moment. "She's at school right now, but she'll be home this afternoon. She loves helping with the chickens." Before Michael could ask more questions, his mother took his arm. "Let me take you to see your father. Emma, thank you for the pie. It smells wonderful." Thomas Reeves was propped up in the hospital bed they had set up in the downstairs guest room, his leg in a cast, but his spirit clearly intact. "Well, look what finally dragged you away from your computers. Took me breaking a hip to get you home." "Dad!" Michael pulled up a chair, shocked at how frail his father looked. Thomas had always been a force of nature, a man who could work from sunup to sundown and still have energy to play with his grandchildren. Now he looked every one of his 72 years. "Don't look at me like I'm dying." I'm just old and clumsy. Thomas waved a dismissive hand. Sit down and tell me about this company of yours. Your mother doesn't understand a word when I try to explain what you do. They talked for an hour, Michael explaining his latest projects, his father listening with genuine interest despite clearly not grasping the technical details. But Thomas had always been like that, supporting his son even when ranching and technology seemed like opposite ends of the universe. That Emma's something special, Thomas said suddenly, changing the subject. Lost her husband 2 years ago. Cancer. He was a ranch hand over at the Patterson place. Left her with nothing but debts and a little girl to raise. She was working 3 jobs when we found her, barely keeping her head above water. Your mother took one look at her and said, "That's the one." Best decision we ever made. Michael absorbed this information, thinking of the sadness he had seen in Emma's eyes. She lives on the property? In the old foreman's cottage. We fixed it up for her and Lily. She won't take charity, that one. Insists on earning every penny. Works harder than any 3 people I know. Thomas fixed his son with a knowing look. She's also not interested in dating, before you get any ideas. Still wearing her wedding ring. Still grieving. I wasn't, Michael started, but his father's laugh cut him off. Boy, I've known you for 38 years. I saw how you looked at her. Just giving you fair warning. Emma's part of this family now. We won't have her hurt. Over the next few days, Michael began to understand what his father meant. Emma was everywhere, seamlessly managing the household with quiet efficiency. She had his father laughing during painful therapy exercises. She organized his mother's medications and doctor appointments. She kept the books for the ranch with meticulous accuracy. And she did it all while being a mother to Lily, a bright, cheerful 6-year-old who had wrapped his parents around her little finger. Michael found himself watching Emma more than he should. The way she moved through the house, anticipating needs before they were voiced. The way she spoke to his parents, with genuine affection and respect, not the careful politeness of an employee. The way she transformed when Lily came home from school, sweeping her daughter into a hug like she was the most precious thing in the world. One evening, Michael found Emma in the barn, feeding the horses. She startled when he entered, her hand going to her chest. Sorry. Didn't mean to scare you. He approached slowly, hands in his pockets. I wanted to talk to you about my parents. Emma's expression became guarded. If this is about my salary, I've already told your sister I'm not looking for a raise. What I make is fair. It's not about money. Michael leaned against a stall door. Well, it is, but not your salary. I send my parents $10,000 a month. Where does it go? This place needs repairs. They should have a full staff. Instead, they have you doing the work of 5 people. Emma's eyes flashed, the first real anger he had seen from her. Your parents are proud people, Michael. They don't want to be a burden to anyone, especially not to their children. Yes, they get your money. And they put most of it in a college fund for their grandchildren. Some goes to the church, to families needier than theirs. The rest they save, probably planning to give back to you and your sister someday. They live on your father's pension and the small income from leasing their fields. That's their choice. But the ranch. The ranch is old and tired, like your parents. They don't need it restored to its glory days. They need it comfortable and safe. Which it is, because I make sure of it. She turned back to the horses, her voice softening. Your parents are good people who took a chance on a desperate widow. They gave me and my daughter a home, a purpose, a family. So yes, I work hard for them. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Because they deserve someone who sees them as more than a charity case or a burden. The words hit Michael like a physical blow. Is that what you think I see them as? Emma met his eyes steadily. I think you're a man who loves his parents but doesn't understand them anymore. I think you've been gone so long that you've forgotten what matters to them. It's not money or a perfect ranch or their successful son coming home to fix everything. It's just you. Here. Present. That's all they've ever wanted. She walked past him, leaving Michael alone in the barn with the uncomfortable truth of her words. That night, he couldn't sleep. He wandered the house, looking at family photos he hadn't noticed before. His parents' wedding picture, his father in his army uniform, his mother in a simple dress. Photos of Michael and Jennifer growing up, every school play and sports event documented. Pictures of grandchildren, Jennifer's 3 kids who visited often. And newer photos of Emma and Lily, integrated into the family gallery as if they had always been there. The next morning, Michael made a decision. He found Emma in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. "I'm staying through Christmas," he announced. "And I'm helping. Whatever needs to be done around here, I'm doing it." Emma raised an eyebrow. "You're a tech billionaire. When was the last time you fixed a fence or mucked out a stall?" "Millionaire, not billionaire. And it's been 20 years, but I grew up on this ranch. I know how to work." He rolled up his sleeves. "So put me to use." What followed were the most humbling 2 weeks of Michael's life. Emma put him to work with no mercy, treating him not as the successful son but as an extra pair of hands. He repaired fences in freezing weather. He cleaned stalls. He helped organize the storage shed. He learned to cook from watching Emma, following her patient instructions. And slowly, he began to reconnect with the rhythm of ranch life he had forgotten. He also got to know Emma. In quiet moments between tasks, she talked about her late husband Jack, about their dreams of having their own small ranch someday, about the devastating speed with which cancer had stolen him away. She talked about Lily, her fierce pride in her daughter's strength and resilience. She talked about finding purpose again after loss, about learning that moving forward didn't mean forgetting. And Michael talked too, more than he had in years. About the loneliness of success, about building something impressive but empty, about the guilt that gnawed at him for choosing ambition over family. Emma listened without judgment, offering insights that cut through his carefully constructed justifications. Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow and the house full of family. Jennifer came with her husband and kids. The house rang with laughter and chaos. Emma and Lily had been invited to celebrate with them, and watching his parents include them in every tradition, Michael finally understood. This was what family looked like. Not perfect, not always related by blood, but chosen and cherished. That evening, after the children were in bed and the adults were gathered around the fireplace, Michael stood up, his heart pounding. "I have an announcement." Everyone turned to look at him. "I'm making some changes. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations of my company. I'm moving back to Montana, not here to the ranch, but close enough to visit regularly. I've been absent too long." His mother's eyes filled with tears. His father nodded approvingly. But it was Emma's slight smile that gave him courage to continue. "And I'm setting up a trust fund. Mom, Dad, you can't refuse this. The trust will cover all ranch maintenance, property taxes, and medical expenses for the rest of your lives. It will also fund college for all your grandchildren, including Lily." He looked at Emma, whose hand had flown to her mouth. "Emma, you've given my parents something I couldn't. Your time, your care, your presence. The least I can do is ensure Lily's future is secure." "Michael, I can't," Emma started, but Thomas interrupted. "You can and you will. My son's finally learned what I've been trying to teach him his whole life. Money's just paper unless you use it for something that matters. And you and your girl matter to us." Later, Michael found Emma on the porch, wrapped in a coat, looking at the stars. "Thank you," she said softly. "Lily's education, it was my biggest worry. Jack and I never had the chance to save." "Thank you," Michael countered, "for showing me what I was missing. For taking care of my parents when I should have been here. For being brave enough to start over." Emma turned to him, and in the Christmas lights strung along the porch, she looked young and hopeful. "Your father told me you're not looking for a relationship. That you're married to your work." Michael laughed. "My father's been telling you about me? Your parents talk about you constantly. They're so proud, even when they worry about you being alone." She hesitated. "For what it's worth, I wasn't looking either. I didn't think I could love again after Jack. But these past 2 weeks, watching you rediscover this place, seeing you with your family, I've realized something. Moving forward doesn't mean replacing what we lost. It means being brave enough to find new things worth fighting for. Michael's heart hammered in his chest. Emma! I'm not ready yet, she said quickly. But maybe someday. If you're patient. If you stay.
I'm staying, Michael promised.
I'm done running from what matters. And Emma, I'm a very patient man when something's worth waiting for. As snow began to fall again and Christmas music drifted from the house, Michael realized his parents had given him the greatest gift. Not by asking for his help, but by showing him what he had been missing. Sometimes the heart finds its home not in the place you left behind, but in the people who teach you how to return to yourself. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it finds it in the kind eyes of a widow who reminds you that second chances are possible, for everyone brave enough to take them.